So now we're on Daf Nun Gimel Amid Beis in the race against the clock. Achaspa, he wanted to, if you get the leniency, the okay, to write, inscribe the name of God on a piece of pottery. There's a long explanation here in Rashi about the physics. Mipnei shecheres solel v'yored v'enot saf. The propensity of pottery is that it's sort of very porous and it absorbs water and then it gets heavy and it goes down. So here, David HaMelech's goal was to get the Shem Hashem down to the Tehom. So he had to write the name of God on a piece of pottery, of what we call earthenware. No one wanted to give him the heter, the official heter. You know, people are very inhibited about telling you that you're allowed to write the name of God and obliterate it by putting it down to the Tehom. David was getting very frustrated. He like implied a terrible punishment for someone who really knows the answer and is silent. He should get it in his garam because he's silent. Achitofel came forward. He was the Rebbe of David, and he introduced the following kavachom. When it comes to what's called a sodna, and a man suspects his wife of adultery, then she has to drink the name of marorim, the bitter waters, and the Torah commands you to write the name of God on a parchment, and then mix it together with the mayim marorim. And that would obliterate the name of God. And the Torah says, Lo tasim kein l'Hashem elokechem. It's a lav d'oraisa to obliterate the name of God, but the Torah allows it for what purpose? So that Amir Hashem shall survive this test. That'll prove that she was innocent, and the marriage will prosper. Actually, she didn't have children. She gets a special bracha to have children because she was suspected of adultery and she wasn't guilty. So if for the sake of shalom bein each though, Torah my name was written in holiness, it will be obliterated through the water. And yet, the world is about to be inundated. We have to create a situation where we save the world. How much more so? Therefore, after the Kavachomer, Achitofel said it's good. That's what David did. Kosav Shem Achaspa. He wrote the name of God on a piece of pottery. Shadeh, he threw it, Litahoma, down to the center of the universe. And it sunk deep, deep, deep. V'nochis Tahoma. Shitzar Alfei Garmide. Garmide are Amos. Shitzar is 6, Alfei is 1,000, 16,000 Amos. So now the water subsides. And then again, that's exactly what David HaMelech wanted. But then he should have said not Shir Lamalos, but Shir Lamorados. However, when David HaMelech realized that this is not good, we went from one extreme to the other extreme. We're in trouble now as well. Because if the water receded 16,000 amma below the surface of the earth is going to be parched and dry. We won't be able to grow anything. Therefore, Amari declared, Kama de midlate fei means it's higher up. Mirtav alma, it's going to bring moisture, which is so critical for growing vegetation, to the surface of the earth. And now, what's David HaMelech's goal? To bring the water up, and that's called to ascend. Hence, Shir Lamalos. Omar Chavesh Yisrei Malos. Each one of these malos corresponds to 1,000 amma. If you remember, the water had receded 16,000 amma below the ground. Now, David HaMelech is going to cause the water through his 15 Shir Malos to rise 15,000 amma. The Aske, and he brought the water up. Aske is up, right? Achis is down, Aske is up. Chamesh Esrei Alfei Garmidi, 15,000 amma. The Ukme, and where did the water land? The Alfei Garmide, 1,000 amma below the surface of the earth. And that's exactly where it has to be. So that's Shir Malos to bring it up from 16,000 amma, 15,000 amma up to 1,000 amma below the surface of the ground. Amar Ulosh Mamino, we learn from this that Succah Diara Alfei Garm, that the distance between the surface, the ground solid surface of the earth, and the water below is 1,000 amma. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? We didn't dig 1,000 amma until we got water. We dug a much smaller amount below the ground, and the water started coming. Rav Masharshi says, "Hahu misulama difrat." Now, there's a nar called prat. Let's see if we can look at the Rashi. Sulama difrat. It's about 6 lines down from the top. Malos hasuyos kimechitos shebahed mei pras olim tachas akarka. Lefisha pras, the Euphrates River, gavoa motzo biot. Rashi quotes a Gemara in Masechet Bechoros. V'kol hanaharos lemata bipras. All of the rivers on the face of the earth were below the Euphrates River. Ma'im hayotzim mehar gavoa. And apparently the Euphrates was fed by waters coming down from a high mountain. In derech misukan lahem olim al har yotzibo v'lo yosef. Fichak and chofrim baharim shebebavel hasmuk lepras motzim mayim. So because of the high level of pras, then the waters of the pras actually were close to the surface of the ground. Now the Mishnah tells us, Omdu Kohanim b'shar ha'elyon sheyored. The Kohanim stood at the higher gate. Then they started climbing down the steps. And when they reached the 10th step, they blew a tekiah and a trua and a tekiah. Now keep in mind that this was not the first set of trumpet blasts. This was actually the 4th set because they started the night before with the she'iva. But now they're going down the steps. Boy, Rabbi Yomi, what does it mean, the 10th step? Is it the 10th step from the top going down or the 10th step from the bottom going up? Lamala Asiris. In Nochis Kamisha V'Koy Asora. In other words, they went down 5 steps. Then they blew the tekiah, trua tekiah, because that was the 10th step from the bottom up. O Dilma, perhaps, this is the second side of the Gemara's suffix of Rabbi Yirmiyah. The Nochis Asora V'Koy Achamish. On the contrary, they went 10 steps down from the top, which would be the 5th step up from the bottom taken. Now, if there's anyone here who could do this research, I would appreciate it. What I find over and over again is that Rabbi Yirmiyah is always the one who asks a question and it ends with a take. I don't know what the pshat is. I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it. In any event, we're now at a place where the Kohanim are ready to turn back because, again, they've been walking from west to east. They finished the Simchas Beis Shoev in the east. Now they're turning back towards the west, meaning towards the Heichal and towards the Kodesh. And at that point, they recited a vidui. Now this appella, the Mishnah says they recited vidui for their forefathers because their forefathers were guilty of worshiping the sun. I mean, that's it's mind-boggling that the influence and the impact on Avodah Zarah that penetrated into the Jewish community until finally Anshe Knesset Agdol prayed for the destruction and the demise of the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah. So the people recited a vidui on behalf of our forefathers. Our forefathers at this point would turn their backs to the Heichal. We're not going to go into detail about what they did until we get to the Gemara. And that's because they worshipped in the east the sun, as the sun would rise in the east. We're turning towards the west because Anuliyah, Ve'einenuliyah, we are facing God. It's unbelievable that the Mishnah and the Brisa had to tell us that Pneim Kedma, they were turning towards the east. And then it says, Achareim el Heichal Hashem. The original sun, the forefathers, the ancestors who were sun worshippers, their backs were towards the west. Well, you just finished telling me that they were facing the east. When you face the east, where's your back? It's towards the west. Any Odea, the rhetorical question, Achareim el Heichal Hashem. With Lomer, why does the Mishnah and the Brisa teach us? Achareim el Heichal Hashem. I'll read these words. Do you remember there's an avodah zarah called Pe'er, right? We read about it in Sefer Bamidbar and the Po'er. And the Po'er Atzmo Leper, but the way that they worship the idol was by defecating in front of the idol. Anu liyah ve'inenu liyah. But we are different. We turn towards the west, towards God, the Heichal, the Kodesh, and our eyes are turned towards Hashem. Now, it's very strange here because there's a repetition of Hashem's name over here. Anu liyah, uliyah einenu. So we're giving two praises to God. Eini, could this be possible? For Omer Abizera, Omer Shma Shma Kiyu Omar Modim Modim. Now, the historical background for this is that back in the day, there was something called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this word correctly, Gnosticism. I'm not sure if you pronounce the G. Anyway, they believed in two gods, the God of good and the God of evil. And when somebody would repeat the word Modim, they would shut him up, because if he said Modim, Modim, it sounded like he was believing in two gods. And the same thing, if he said Shma, Shma, that also indicated the same thing, that as if we suspect him as if he's believing in two gods. So we're not allowed to give two continuous praises to God once and again. Elahachi Kamar, we have to reinterpret the Mishnah and the Brisa. Hema mishtachavim kedma, they would bow towards the sun, but the anu in conscious, we liya mishtachavim. You have to add the word mishtachavim. We bow towards God, meaning in the west, towards the Shechina. Veinenu lecham yachalos, and our eyes depend upon you. All our faith and our reliance is upon you. So what we're doing is we're separating these two names of God by filling in a few words so that there are two different praises. Each one lauds God in a different content. And we're up to the Mishnah. If you count the number of tkiyos, now we're talking about not a shofar, keep in mind we're talking about the chatzotzos, the trumpet, then the minimum number of trumpets on every day was 21, and the Mishnah is going to explain how we get to the number 21. The Ein Mosifin al Arboim Mishmona, the max out number, the highest number ceiling is 48. B'chol Yom Hayusham Esrim V'Achas Tkiyos B'Mikdash. How do we get to the number 21, which is the absolute minimum for any day during the course of the entire year? Shalosh Lipsichas Shi'arim. The halacha is that every night the Levium would lock the gates. Those Levium were called the Mishoarim. And in the morning, there was another group of Levium who would open up the gates, and that meant open for business. The Mikdash is now open. And at that point, they would blow the trua, the tkiya, trua tkiya from the chatzot. Now, that's shalosh. Okay, we should really take out a piece of paper or write on the board. Teisha, now we add another 9. Litamid shel shachar, but teisha litamid shel bein parbaim. So we got another 9 and another 9. 18 plus 3 is 21. And how do we get the number 9 for each one of the two Tmidim? And the answer is that there was a mitzvah on a different group of Levim, not the Misharim, but the Mishorerim, who were in charge of singing during the Nisuch HaYayin on a daily basis. And the song that they sang was divided into 3 parts. Again, this is a sugya elsewhere in Shas, but as an introduction to each of the 3 parts of the singing of the Levim, the Shiras HaLevim, there was a Tekiah, Trua Tekiah. So that gives you another 3 sets made up of 3 blasts each set. That's 3 times 3 is 9 for the Talmud Shel Shaka. 3 times 3 is 9 for Talmud Shel Ben Abayim. 9 and 9 is 18 plus 3 when they opened up the Sha'arim in the morning. Ube Musafim. Now we're talking about Chol HaMoed, for example, or Yontif or Shabbos, but we'll see how that develops. In the case of a Karban Musaf, the day requires a separate Karban, and that Karban is going to add to the numbers of the blowing of the Chatzotzer. Mosifim Od Teisha. They would have to add another 9, 3 sets of 3 blasts. 3 times 3 is 9. And once again, this was to break up the Shiras HaLevim over the Karban Musaf. So what number are we up to now? Can anybody help me out here as we get to the finish line? 9 plus, 1 second, we had 21, and now we're adding 9, so we're up to 30. Okay. Be'erev Shabbos, Mosifim Sheish. Now this is a whole different category of trumpet blasts. And what were the 6 sets? This was all to notify the people a little bit in advance that Shabbos is coming. Here in Yerushalayim, they blow those sirens. Shalosh lahavtil esam mimloch. They were out in the fields. They would blow the shofar, the chatzotros 3 times in order to tell them to stop working. It's getting close to Shabbos. Shalosh, another 3, lahavdil ben kodesh lechol. And this is all a sugya Masechet Shabbos. And here they were telling us that it's now Shabbos. It's not enough that you've come back from your work, but now you cannot do any malacha whatsoever. Erev Shabbos Shem Tov HaChag, if during Yontif of Sukkot there was a Shabbos that coincided, that was the maximum number. How do we get to the maximum number of Arboim Ushmona? Shalosh L'Psichasharim, and then we add Shalosh L'Shar HaElyon, Shalosh L'Shar HaTachton, Shalosh L'Milui Mayim, Shalosh Al Gabi Mizbeach, Teisha L'Tomit Shel Shachar, Teisha L'Tomit Shel Ben Arbayim, Teisha L'Musafim, Shalosh Lahavdil Es Ha'am Min HaMelacha, V'Shalosh Lahavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. So we have a total of 48 blasts of the Tekiah. So the Mishnah concludes here. The Gemara starts by saying, "Masnisim the low Rabbi Yehuda, the Sanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Haposeach, Hapoches lo Yivchos Nisheva, Mosif lo Yosef al Sheish Yisrael." The numbers vary from the lowest number is 7, the minimum, and the highest is 16. Why does he come up with a different set of numbers? Rabbi Yehuda Sara Tekiah True Tekiah Achasi. We don't count these 3 blasts in one set as 3, we count them as 1. For Rabbanan Sabri, Tekiah L'chud, Trua L'chud, and then another Tekiah. So that's counted as 3. And you're going to end up multiplying your number by 3 if you hold like the Rabbanan. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. What led Rabbi Yehuda to the conclusion that all 3 are counted as 1? Oh my God, the Torah says, you cut them Trua. You should blow a Trua. And then the Torah says, Utrua Yiskuru, and you should be blowing a Tekiah. So what does it mean? You just said Katem Trua, and then you said Trua Yitkuru. But Ketzad, how do you reconcile this? Tekiah, Utrua, as we integrate both the Tekiah and the Trua, and they become one indivisible entity. For Rabbanan, what do they hold? What the Torah means to say is that you need a Tekiah before the Trua and a Tekiah after the Trua. Rabbi Yehuda l'fanei v'lachei minolei, from whence is Rabbi Yehuda derived that you need a Tekiah before the Trua and a Tekiah after the Trua. Nafkale mitshenis, he derives it from the word blow again. So blow again means to blow a Tekiah before the Trua and after the Trua. Rabbanan Maitamayu, what led the Rabbanic conclusion that we separate the Trua from the Tekiah before it and from the Tekiah afterwards, setting up three different blasts? Tichsiv, because the Torah tells us in 10:10 winds, you remember that? In Sefer Bamidbar, Ubahakil es hakahol tiskeu velo sariv, that you should blow a Tekiah without a Trua to gather together the people. If you're going to tell me that there's no such thing as a Tekiah without a Trua or Trua without a Tekiah, it's all one. Could the Torah be commanding us to blow a Tekiah without a Trua? If it's all one entity, then we have to blow a Tekiah with a Trua. You can't have a Tekiah without a Trua. For Rabbi Yehuda, his response is, what proof can you adduce from this mitzvah of Bahakil Asam Tisku? That's a different mitzvah entirely. Has nothing to do whatsoever with the kiyum of avoda in the Beis Hamikdash. It's a separate mitzvah to gather together the people. Rabbanan, Simanu v'Rachmana Shavi mitzvah. It's true. It's only a signal to gather together the people, but the Torah upgraded it to the status of a mitzvah. Keman Azla Hodar of Kahana, the Omer of Kahana, Ein Bein Tekiah L'Trua V'Lo Klum. When you blow a Tekiah, you immediately blow a Trua. Don't even come up for a breath of air. The Gemara says, Keman Ki Rabbi Yehuda. Of course it's Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda holds that Tekiah, Trua, Tekiah is all one unit. And therefore you can't take a pause, which would be a hefsek, to break up the continuity between the Tekiah and the Trua. So Gemara says, Pshita. I don't need Rav Kahana to tell me this. That's obvious. Mal to tame on the top of Nun Dal. You would have said the following: Afilu kirabanan. Maybe even the Rabbanan require that Tekiah, Trua, and Tekiah. Maybe they'll allow for a little bit of a breath of air, but nothing more than a breath of air, a short, very short pause. Ulafuki mi Rabbi Yochanan, Dioma. Rabbi Yochanan says the other extreme. Shama Teisha Tekiyos B'Teisha shows by Yom Yotza. If you heard 9 blasts during the course of an entire day, you heard 3 blasts in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the evening, then you were Yotze. So Kamash Malan, that's what we wanted to be Machadish to us. No, we don't accept Rabbi Yochanan, we accept the Rabbanan, and you can take a little bit of a pause between one blast and another to the Tekiah and the Trua, but you can't fulfill it during the course of the day. So the Gemara says, Ve'emar chinami, im kein mai v'lo klum. Since it says v'lo klum, then obviously Rav Kahana is emphasizing that he doesn't want any pause. That means Rabbi Yehuda, who doesn't even allow you to take a breath between the Tekiah and the Trua, and the Rabbanan will allow you to take a breath, and that's a short hefsek, and it doesn't break up the Tekiyos as a set, Tekiah, Trua, Tekiah, and Rabbi Yochanan has a more extreme, Afil Shama, Teisha Tekiyos, Biyom Echad, Yot. This is where we're going to stop for today, and we're up to Erev Shabbos, which is line 4 here on Nun Vav Amadal. Thank you very much.